the question, why do women stay in unhappy marriages? That was asked in the 2X chromosome subreddit. Why do women stay in unhappy marriages? She says, I'm asking this because I don't quite understand it myself. I am not happy. My husband is a good father and provider, but as a husband, there is no effort, no empathy, no compassion. I can be in pain from giving birth, and he will carry on like I am an inconvenience. I was experiencing tummy troubles the other night, and the baby started crying, and he got up to yell at me about the baby crying while I was on the toilet. He is an alcoholic who comes home to berate me while in bed, so why do I stay? I am and have always been pretty independent. I have a good job and will be able to make it on my own. But every time I think I'm going to ask him to leave, I chicken out. So I want to hear from you. Why did you stay? And what made you finally call it quits? Now, right here, she says, my husband is a good father and provider, but also just very slightly down, she says, I was experiencing tummy troubles the other night and the baby started crying and he got up to yell at me about the baby crying. I would like to know, does that make someone a good father? A baby is crying, and instead of soothing the child while the mother is on the toilet, instead of soothing the child, you holler. Imagine when that child becomes old enough to know and understand that she can't have emotions because her dad is going to get set off. And then imagine you live in this type of household where you have to walk on eggshells around the man of the house. Do you think that that is a good reason to, like, is that a good reason or a good place to raise a child in? Is that a good place to raise a child in? Imagine teaching your child early on that you have to walk on eggshells to not make a person blow up. And this is what is considered a good father. I would like to know what a bad father is. Alto Stratus says, look into codependency. This is a very common dynamic with alcoholics and abusers. I hope you're able to find a safe life for you and your baby soon. And then the OP says, I read this comment and quickly read up on codependency and felt like I was punched in the gut. I feel like I was picked apart. Just super accurate. Now I need to find how to break this cycle. And then Smoking Barbecue says, I just want to say this, and honed in on the part right here. My husband is a good father. And this, he got up to yell at me about the baby crying and said that these two are contradicting themselves. He's not a good father if he gets upset about having to do things a father should be doing. I hope you're well. I really wish the bar for a good man was not where it is. Then Stiletto Panda says, I read that part and made a sad face. Shit husbands are also usually fathers too. And even if they are active parents who would be considered good, they still teach their sons to be husbands and their daughters to put up with it. So they're not good at all. Exactly. That is my point. You do not want to raise your children around terrible people, because if it's a girl, you'll make that a normal type of relationship when it shouldn't be. And if you have sons, that'll be like, that's who you should be like. That is their first example of what a man is. There is no good reasons to stay with a terrible person. Pure Female Rage at the bottom says, I was going to say the same thing. He doesn't sound like a very good father from that. Infamous Committee says it's an identity, a role he plays, is not about the actual behavior. It's crazy the lengths abuse victims, myself included, will go to defend their abusers because we've been conditioned to protect them. They're just misunderstood, and it's not their fault they had a hard childhood or frequent refrains in my abusive marriage. But I couldn't see the disconnect between the words and the actions. LaDance Banana Slug says that, and the alcoholism. I'm sorry to say, it's very unlikely that an active alcoholic can be a great father, not because of their fatherly actions necessarily, but because of the trauma, the dread, the confusion, and sense of double life that exposure to alcoholism can cause in kids. And of course, being an alcoholic role model for a child who may be predisposed to later alcoholism. Poor Poof says, consider your relationship with men involved in your early upbringing. father, brothers, uncles, and how they treated you? Is it similar? And then the OP says, my father died when I was 6. My stepdad was also a drug addict who beat my mother when I hid his stash. He walked in and out of my life for 7 years. And throughout that time, I watched men walk in and out. I watched my mother exchange sexual favors for cash to put food on the table. Not that she couldn't work, but more like she didn't want to. I watched her drink every day, too. She is also an alcoholic. Please know and understand when you raise your children in chaos or dysfunction or abuse or abandonment, this is the type of person that you could be creating, like this OP who is not very sure of herself, who doesn't have a baseline of what a good dad is. And so when people say, they're staying for the kids, they could be staying for the kids and creating this cycle of trauma that happens when they normalize dysfunction as a relationship. This person says a good father would go to his child himself and tend to his offspring instead of expecting his partner to, especially if she was occupied. Then this person says, edit. I saw your thread from 206 days ago. Girl, what are you doing? And then the OP says, laying in bed crying because I read your comment. I think the difficulty I'm having is also because he is a good man when he is sober. That leaves that hope in my heart. But I know that it's just that. It's hope. And things are never going to get better. And then Artemis Elizabeth says, who people are drunk is who they really are. Sober people can mask and manipulate and pretend. It's usually a lot harder for drunk people to mask. Also, as we all said, he is not a good man. So here's a true off my chest from this same woman from 6 months ago. She says, I'm convinced my husband no longer loves me. She says, don't get me wrong, he is a good provider. He is a good father and a good provider. But it feels as though a woman who's 28, my marriage has become a marriage of convenience. I've had a C-section and another operation to remove cysts and get sterilized in the last 2 months. And all he has been doing is moping when I need to heal about when we will have sex again. When we don't have sex, he makes me feel like I'm just there and a nuisance. Even during labor, all he did was say how tired he was and only came during visiting hours. And the whole time he was there, it felt as though he would rather be anywhere else. When I say I'm in pain, he shows zero empathy. I have never felt so alone. I asked him straight up, asked him if he loves me and said, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't have said that you are going to be in pain after the operation. That's weird. The amount of effort he puts into the relationship is minimal and makes me feel like I'm not worth any effort. I've mentioned the effort before. I didn't grow up with much affection, so I don't seek it from anyone but my husband. And it hurts when the only person I seek affection from makes it feel like when I need him, I'm being an inconvenience. This woman knows that she does not need to be in this relationship. She knows. So we'll see if the next post that she's making is how she is preparing to leave, because she has enough people letting her know that this is not a good man. This is not a good relationship. And you do not want this to be the first relationship that your children see modeled as what a relationship should be. Okay, she says, husband's breath is so awful and he is so sensitive about it. That was posted in the marriage subreddit. Husband's breath is so awful and he is so sensitive about it. Okay, let's read the post. My husband has had breath issues since I knew him, but not awful. He only brushes his teeth in the mornings, not twice a day. Last year, he started Ozempic. He has had bad gastro side effects with that it made his breath smell like mothballs. Finally, his side effects have mostly gone away, but he started Vivanase. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, Vivanase. And the dry mouth, I'm assuming, is making his breath smell even worse. I am honestly repulsed. In the past, if I have nicely told him I'd like him to brush his teeth more, that his breath isn't good, he will get very, very sensitive and hurt about it. So I tread lightly. But it's coming to the point where I cannot stand physical experiences with him. Tonight, he was wanting to cuddle and be affectionate while we watched a show on his phone, and the smell was there again. I turned around and he asked why. I told him, please brush your teeth. He immediately froze and got up and got angry. He immediately froze up and got angry. I asked him to use mouthwash too, and he refused and tried to argue with me that it makes his mouth worse. He is unable to have an adult or even amicable conversation about this issue without getting angry and defensive and hurt. I don't know what else to do. Every suggestion I give, he knocks down. What can I do? Woo-wee. This is definitely a hard one and a sensitive topic. I know things like hygiene are very sensitive when someone is just not smelling right, but as a person who's on the other end of it, I couldn't imagine having a conversation in the face with somebody with bad breath. Like the other things that women put up with, like people who are not washing their balls and cleaning their butts properly, or showering consistently, or brushing their teeth consistently. Like some of the things that I hear, I cannot believe that you can be in the same vicinity as a person like that. So she's trying, she's doing all that she can, she's done all that she can, but he would have to embody it and make it a priority. And he would rather get defensive than to get to the root of the problem. He's doing this around her. He's having bad breath around her. But does he not care about how he's projecting himself in the outside world? Is he like getting all up in somebody's face? Hi, I'm Hal. Hal Howard's. Like, I couldn't imagine that as like other people have to be turning away from him as well. So he's going to have to get to the bottom of it. He's just embarrassed right now. I'm sorry about the bad breath effects that I just did right now. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Kitty Meow says he needs to go to the dentist for a checkup. If it's teeth related, they can help. Lurker the Pip says this: get him to a dentist ASAP. Get him to a dentist ASAP. This is, again, where women have to be the ones that are initiating things to help men get on top of their health, because some of these people have to be dragged along and pulled along and can't just do their own health stuff by themselves. Educated Gamer says this isn't just about bad breath, it's about respect, hygiene, and a total unwillingness to address a problem that is now affecting your marriage. You're not asking him to climb Mount Everest. You're asking him to brush his damn teeth and deal with an issue that's driving you away. If he can't handle a conversation about basic hygiene without blowing up, that's not sensitivity. That's immaturity. You've tried being nice and it didn't work. Now it's time for a serious sit down. Tell him, listen, this is a real issue for me. Your breath is affecting our intimacy and making it hard for me to enjoy being close to you. I'm not trying to hurt you, but this needs to change. Lay it out there, no sugarcoating. If he gets defensive, that's his problem to deal with, not yours. You can't force someone to be accountable for you can't force someone to be accountable for their own hygiene, but you can let them know the consequences if they don't step up. And frankly, if brushing his teeth twice a day and using mouthwash is too much for him, he's got bigger problems than you pointing it out. You deserve a partner who cares enough about your feelings to take basic care of themselves if he can't handle this conversation. It's time to reevaluate what you're willing to tolerate in this marriage. If this resonates, follow, send gold, or like the post. But most importantly, stop treading lightly. This isn't about hurting his feelings. It's about saving your connection. He needs to grow up and handle it, period. This person's comment was very fleshed out, very thoughtful. I like it. And like this person says, yes, all of this. There's nothing else that really needs to be said on this topic, so we will end it there. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I was sent this post a couple of times. It's an Emma the A-hole post. She says, Emma the A-hole for telling my ex's sterile affair partner to have her own daughter if she wants to share cheerleading with one. Okay, so sterile affair partner and tell her to have her own daughter. Okay, let's get into it. My ex, who's 44, cheated on me, a 40-year-old woman, and ended our marriage so he could be with his affair partner, now wife, who's Jen. Jen is 42. This happened several years ago when our kids were very young. My ex gets our kids 6 days a month. He works out of state frequently, so this was the most consistent schedule where our kids would be with a parent, me or ex, instead of being left with a babysitter or his wife. According to my ex and Jen, she is sterile and can never have kids. I never asked, but they offered this up in hopes that I would share the kids with her more and encourage them to embrace Jen as their second mom. I have not done this, and I've told them we are not friends and they are not to expect favors from me after going behind my back and doing what they did. Jen was someone I knew before learning the truth. She was dating someone in my ex's friend circle and made a point to get to know me. I found out why after. She was expecting us to be friends that would help. I'm sorry, she was expecting being friends would help me not to hate her afterwards. I bring all this up because of what's currently going on. Jen was a big cheerleader in her youth and volunteers with local cheer groups. She wants my daughter, who's 10, to get involved in cheer. My daughter told me about it the other week because Jen was trying to make her go, and my ex was backing Jen on it. She told me she didn't want to, and she needed my help. All the kids are aware of the fact stuff like that has to be agreed on by both me and their dad. I reached out and told my ex our daughter will not be put in cheer against her will and that he needs to stop pressuring her to join. He didn't respond back the way he's supposed to through app, so I noted his reply on the app and got a lot of cussing back. Jen tried to call me, but I didn't answer. She approached me a few days later while we were in the same store, and she told me I can't keep punishing her by depriving her of my children. Uh, yuck. What? She says she's been in their lives since they were little, and she has every right to bond with them and share stuff with them like that. I told her she does not get to force my kids into stuff like that against their will. I walked away, and she followed me around for a bit and told me how it was her dream to share cheer with a daughter and all the crap that I don't care about. I told her she should have a daughter of her own if she wants to share it and leave me alone. I think she forgot to say, leave me the hell alone, or even an F cuss word. She stopped following me after that, and I heard from X a few times after saying I was cruel to say that to her when I know she can't have children. Am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. That's not your problem. She's a random person. She's a random person and she needs to deal with it on her own. Your daughter is not there to be shared with a person simply because they cannot have. What the hell is this? No, you don't share your children as charity or anything. I'm sorry, y'all. I took the screenshots and I didn't read the whole thing fully. So that part got me a little chopped and screwed up in the facial area. The nerve, the gall. How dare you? You befriend me so it would make it easier, once the affair comes out. And then you need to share a child? Oh no. Jen is going to have to just get a child, like a big sister, like go to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and get a child that likes cheerleading or something, because this is not how we're going to do this. And I like how this woman replied in the family app, and that's it, versus, going back and forth. I like that. Keep it documented. Keep it in the app, and that's it. Stigley says, not the a-hole. First, she steals the spouse. Now she's after the kids. This person says, remember to record all the interactions with Jen in the parenting app. Do it as your wife approached and harassed me in the store over stuff we have already discussed in the app regarding activities the children do not want to do. But she does, and you are pressuring the kids to accept it. Document, 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 and then push for Jen to have reduced contact with the kids due to abusive pressure she is putting on them. This person says, exactly. Jen is overstepping big time, and documenting everything is the smart move. She shouldn't be pressuring the kids, and if it keeps up, reducing contact might be necessary. Jen is a psycho. The concept of being a homewrecker, then thinking you have the right to parent somebody else's kids that you've likely traumatized, she needs to stay away from the OP's kids and get help. Stigley says, not so much reducing contact, but having it supervised and possibly in neutral locations to ensure that Jen doesn't pressure and try to manipulate kids. Dolly says, exactly. It's so important to have everything documented, especially when someone is creating unnecessary tension and putting the kids in the middle. The parenting app is a fantastic tool for ensuring there's a record of what's being discussed and what boundaries are being crossed. Harassment, especially when it's about activities that kids have clearly expressed they don't want to do, can have a significant negative impact on their mental health. Reducing her influence if it continues to be harmful sounds like the best course of action for their well-being. This person says, absolutely, you've got it right. Document everything. It's so important to keep a clear record of these interactions, especially since Jen seems to have no boundaries. It's wild how she thinks she can pressure your kids into doing things they don't want, then act like you're the problem. Stick to your guns and don't let her guilt trip you into bending. Those kids need you in their corner more than ever. I'll end it with this screenshot. Yeah, behavior like this is why you should hold the other party in contempt if they're knowing. This chick engaged in tactical social conditioning, like hanging around a person and their dogs to get the dogs used to them for when they break into the person's house. She wanted OP to be her friend so OP would be on board with her despite the cheating and accept her as a stepmother to her kids. These behaviors are not healthy, they're not good, they're not redeemable. Yes, that is a wild tactic. This person, evil sloth of doom, says if Jen keeps going the way she's going, those kids won't want to go to their dads. They'll reach an age where they can choose, and Jen will lose access. CYA. Cover your butt. Cover your butt. Cover your butt. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. So that is what people are saying about this one. This one was very interesting. Yeah, absolutely not. We're not doing this. Nobody like Jen will get to have access to your kids. Unsupervised. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
What the fuck is it with men like this? Can they not do anything for themselves? Block me yourself, you piece of shit. I'm fucking busy watching my husband cook dinner. Fuck off, troll.